I was in the basement when Preston tried to brand me with a sizzling hot metal school crest. 6 months later at graduation, he was begging me not to mention his name in my valedictorian speech. The fire alarm saved my life that night, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I was 13 when my parents shipped me off to Thornwick Academy, an elite Swiss boarding school. They called it an opportunity. I called it exile. After years of neglect and emotional abuse, being surrounded by entitled rich kids seemed like just another form of punishment, but at least I was away from them. Thornwick was everything you'd expect from a school that cost more than most people's houses. Stone buildings that looked like castles, manicured grounds, and students who owned more in their dorm rooms than my family had in our entire house. I was a scholarship kid in a world of trust funds, and everyone knew it. The first few months were brutal. I ate alone, studied alone, and tried to make myself invisible. The other scholarship students had learned to keep their heads down and blend in, but blending in wasn't my strength. That's when I met Randy. Randy was different. He'd arrived halfway through the semester with a beat-up backpack and clothes that had clearly been bought at thrift stores. While I'd managed to scrape together enough decent clothes to almost fit in, Randy stood out like a neon sign in a cemetery. The treatment he received was unlike anything I'd witnessed. Students would accidentally spill food on his clothes, knowing he couldn't afford to replace them. Teachers would single him out in class, making him answer questions they knew he couldn't answer properly due to his accent. But Randy never fought back. Instead, he was kind. When his mother sent homemade cookies, he shared them with everyone, including the kids who tormented him. When he found money on the ground, he'd ask around to see who had lost it. It was like watching someone feed sharks while standing in bloody water. I wanted to help him, but I was still trying to survive myself. I'd clawed my way into a small group of friends who accepted me as long as I didn't make waves. So when Randy sat alone in the dining hall, I stayed with my group and told myself it wasn't my problem. Legacy Week changed everything. For those who don't know, Legacy Week is a Thornwick tradition where students whose parents attended the school get to initiate those whose parents didn't. It's supposedly about building character and school spirit. In reality, it's a week of sanctioned bullying. I thought I could avoid it by staying in the library and keeping my head down. I was wrong. I was walking back to my dorm at 11 p.m. when 3 Legacy students cornered me in the basement. Preston Blackwell stepped out of the shadows holding the metal school crest like he'd done this before. Preston was everything I hated about Thornwick. Arrogant, cruel, and protected by his family's money. His father had donated an entire building to the school. Preston thought that made him untouchable. Every non-legacy needs to learn their place, he said, flicking his lighter and holding the flame under the metal crest. I watched in horror as it began to glow orange at the edges. Hold him, he told his friends.
Full story link below.